All right. Welcome to Trenches. I'm Sam Mays. This is the Oklahoma State Texas A&M Tax Act Texas Bowl post game. Before we get started, I got to say a big thank you to a couple of my sponsors. Lock Supply, thank you guys so much for supporting in the trenches this entire football season. It's been pretty incredible to have you guys on board. I'm looking forward to 24. And to Euros Health, you guys have been incredible for me on and off the field, I guess you can say. Obviously, thank you for sponsoring the podcast, but what you've done for me here in just in the last couple of months, dealing with some of the heart issues that I've had, and I just recently had COVID, so if I cough a little bit on this podcast, I apologize, but Euros has been incredible. The support that they've given me, along with my medical team, helping me understand some of the things that have been prescribed to me and helping adjust some of my medications to help counter some of the side effects of some of the things I'm taking for my heart. They've been absolutely incredible. If you don't know about Euros Health, you need to check them out. Go to their website, take a deep dive, and understand what it's like to have someone on your team on the medical side of things. It just seems, the more we go to the doctor these days, the communication is just not where you want it to be, and it just seems like you're lost at times dealing with your general practitioner and some of these specialists out there. But with the team at Euros Health on board with me, it's really been kind of a nice transition over the last couple of months. So big thank you to them for supporting the podcast and helping me get along for sure. What a game. Oklahoma State finds a way to get it done, 31-23 against Texas A&M. I came into this game and I honestly thought the Cowboys were double digits better, not only because of Texas A&M and the fact that they're in a transitional period, but Gundy's just good with some time, right? I mean, he's always been good with coming off bye weeks or dealing with bowl games. He has a plan. He executes well. I think he learned a valuable lesson from Les Miles 20 years ago on what not to do in bowl game preparation. Les was insane, right? There were times that we had 2-a-days, 3-a-days during bowl preparation the week of, in camp, in the location, and it just wore us out. I mean, there were games that we were just tired in. That Cotton Bowl and 2004 against Eli Manning was one of those games. So I think he's learned quite a bit on not only how to coach these games, but prepare for these games. I thought Oklahoma State looked sharp early in this one, getting off to a pretty good lead in the first half and obviously holding on there in the second. I've got to give a shout out to Marcel Reed. This is the 4th-team quarterback for Texas A&M. He comes in after the first play of the game when the starter goes down. Jalen Henderson goes down with a broken arm. Marcel went 20 for 33, 361 yards with 1 pick. And I think he ran it for another 30 yards in this game. I just want to say this to any kid that's watching this podcast. This is what preparation will get you. A&M was able to run their full offense with a 4th-team quarterback in there, and that kid went out there and balled out, played his game, went out there and competed like a champion today. And I, as a former football player, I just want to say respect to Marcel Reed in the way that he competed and led his football team down the field today. They gave themselves an opportunity to come back and tie this thing up. At the end of the game, it was an exceptional performance by that young man today, and that Texas A&M offense, who obviously is reeling after you watch your starter go down and get carted off the field. So that was pretty cool. But back to the Cowboys. Bowman went out there and I kind of tweeted this out earlier. Bowman is Bowman. This is somebody that is going to give the other team a chance at the ball every once in a while in the game, but he's also going to go throw some great passes. And, a lot of the time you kind of hold your breath because they're not necessarily getting to the receiver in a hurry. A lot of lofted passes from Bowman, but they somehow, some way find a way in the Cowboys' hands. And I think a lot of it is just excellent receiver play. Oklahoma State's receivers room has got to be one of the best in the country year in, year out. It seems like they consistently build stars. And you look at Presley and look at Owens and the way they competed today. Leon Johnson III, the way he competed today. Those kids are special. That receiving room next year is going to be very, very good. A lot of kids coming back. So it was pretty awesome to see them get out there and compete today. Ollie Gordon, another 118-yard performance from him. That kid is a special football player. So cool to see him coming back to Oklahoma State. I honestly would have bet my mortgage that he was going to end up somewhere else through the transfer portal, but just comes out and flat out says he loves Stillwater. And that's really the report I'm getting from people inside the program too. Like, he just generally loves Oklahoma State, loves Stillwater, loves the campus, loves school, loves the people that he's working with. And I get that. I feel that as a former Cowboy. I had the perfect college football experience. I don't knock a kid that just falls in love with that community and that atmosphere and that fan base and the student body. I mean, it's a pretty awesome place to go to college. So cool that Ollie is coming back. Great performance from him today. I will say this about Ollie Gordon. It was kind of pointed out on social media this evening. There are definitely some maturity issues at times with him. And I think, obviously time on field will maybe solve some of those things, but he's got to get his head on straight. Less talking, less jabbering, less getting in the faces of other players. All that stuff is for wannabes. That kid is the truth. He's the real deal. Best running back in the country. So hopefully next year, seeing him come back will bring a little more maturity to the field. But excellent football player, great performance today. Thought the offensive line played well, not perfect, but they played well. All 5 of those guys come back next year, which is one of the reasons that Ollie Gordon decided to come back, which is pretty cool. I don't know how they did it. I think a lot of it might be just competence, but to see them in the first 3 games of the season, to see them in the last 5 is just, excuse me, 2 different things. So good to see the Cowboy offensive line compete well today. As far as the future, what does Oklahoma State look like next year? A lot depends on the quarterback situation. Do we want Bowman back? Do we not? For me, I probably want to see some of the younger guys get an opportunity. I think Bowman is what he is. I don't think he'll change this offseason. I don't think he'll get any better. He's old, right? He's an older player, and he's been around for a long time, making mistakes that younger players make, and he doesn't necessarily wow me as far as his arm strength is concerned. So I feel like it would be better off to see one of those, Flores or Rangel, one of those guys get an opportunity next season. But I do like this Oklahoma State team in a conference that doesn't have Texas and Oklahoma. You watch Utah fall in their bowl game. How good are they going to be coming into this conference? I mean, I think there's a great opportunity to Oklahoma State to really grab the reins of the Big 12 next season. So I think the foundation is there. I really do. I really think the foundation is there for them to be one of your top 15 teams in the country. Obviously, would have loved to see better results in the recruiting situation, but that's just beating a dead horse. Same thing every season. Excuse me. Same thing every season for Mike Gundy recruiting aspect of it. It's just not something that he shines at. At the same time, he's always finding a way to put elite players on the field, right? He's always got dudes out there that can play the game. So I thought this performance was great in the first half, probably a little underwhelming in the second. Bowl games are bowl games. I thought they had A&M beat. A&M came back and threw a punch in the second half. Like I said, good for them. Made it a better game than maybe it should have been. But a good finish for Oklahoma State and a good season for Oklahoma State. I would love to see them win those 2 early ones, obviously against South Alabama and Iowa State. But it is what it is. He found a way to get himself in this situation, and they found a way to win. And like I said, next year is going to be pretty interesting as in regards to what this new Big 12 looks like, and to see who's going to grab take the captain's seat. Is it going to be Oklahoma State? Is it going to be Mike Gundy? And it should be. So I'm pretty excited to see what the spring holds, see what that quarterback situation looks like. But as far as foundation of a football team, Oklahoma State might be pretty good next year. Chris, as nice as this win and this crazy season has been, better than all of it is that you are healthy, Sam. Continue prayers as you get stronger. Thanks for all you do. Thank you so much, Chris. I appreciate that. Bowman getting a 7th year of eligibility. I'm not thrilled about it. I'm not. It could be worse though, right? Like, it's such a weird feeling. Like, it could be worse. I mean, that kid threw some great passes today. But he threw some terrible ones, and he does it every single game, right? You can count on it. So we'll see. Thoughts on the Big 12 without OU and Texas? I think it's a probably pretty average conference. I don't know that we'll have, a semifinal contender next year. But they survived. The Big 12 is still a thing, which is great. I didn't honestly. You would have told me in 2010 that I was going to be potentially able to tell a grandkid one day that I played in the Big 12 and him know what that is, or I would have said there's no way. It looks like the Big 12 is going to survive, which is a positive. But I mean, the conference in itself, there's just no ace at this point. No one is doing all three things: recruiting, spending the money, transfer portal, um, you know, great coaching. Not there's no total package in this conference, but it'll be a good conference, but not an elite one. Every QB on the roster is better than Bowman. I don't know. Gundy's notorious, right? For the quarterback situation. Like I was at that game that Alex Kate played that entire first half without completing a pass. And then Brandon Whedon came in the second half, became the greatest quarterback in Oklahoma State history. So, 3 games this year with a quarterback battle that was ridiculous. I mean, it's just a weird narrative. For a former quarterback, Gundy struggles with making that decision. So, for all we know, there is a quarterback that's better on the field in practice than Bowman is. John Fields, 8 10-win seasons for Mike Gundy in 19 seasons, 3 10-win seasons in OSU history before Gundy hiring college football Hall of Fame worthy. I think so. I think Mike Gundy is a college football Hall of Famer, but people argue with me when I say that. I mean, I don't even like the guy. I'm not a Gundy supporter. I think I'm ready for new blood. I think he's stuck in his ways, and I think that college football is changing. The landscape is changing, and we need someone that is willing to take those necessary steps to, one, tend to their own flock on campus, and two, connect with these younger players, connect with these high school kids, connect with these portal kids, and find a way for them to understand that Stillwater is a great place to call home. I just don't think he's selling the program the way they should. I don't understand it because I think Oklahoma State is the greatest university that you could go compete at. It's awesome. I loved every second of the time that I spent there. So I'm ready for somebody else, but I'm not dumb enough to not see that Mike Gundy hasn't done an incredible job. I mean, Oklahoma State went from, Les Miles got the ball rolling. There's no doubt about that. But, obviously Boone Pickens was incredible for the university with all of his generous gifts, and that helps tremendously when you get, all the great facilities and all that stuff. But Gundy went from playing Thursday night games to trying to find a way to build the brand, and he turns Justin Blackman into a two-time Blitnikoff winner. Here comes 28-year-old Brandon Whedon, and he's a first-round draft pick, and I mean the stories just go on and on and on and on. The young men that Mike Gundy has touched and helped improve over the years. I mean, yeah, I think he is absolutely a college football Hall of Famer. I really do. Like, I mean, it would be. I would have a hard time finding someone that could really argue against it. Now, if the only argument you have is the lack of championships, right? I mean, that's the argument: the lack of Big 12 conference titles and no opportunities at a national championship. But if Iowa State didn't happen in 2011, I think they won a national title that year. To be completely honest, I don't think LSU could have stopped that offense at all. I think they would have run amok on Les Miles' LSU team back then. So that's the one argument that you have is like outside of winning bowl games and the 10-win seasons, what does he actually accomplish? Like what's the the meat and potatoes of it all? And it's lacking. But come on, man. I mean, it's pretty wild what he's done with this program. No doubt. Nick Means, honestly, I feel like we backdoored our way to 10 wins, and I'm worried it's going to lead to reinforcement of program complacency from coaches and admins. I think that's a legitimate concern. Especially like Oklahoma State fans are such a unique group of people. And I think the older they are, the more. I mean, come on, you guys see what it's like on Saturdays in Stillwater. The party is unbelievable. The atmosphere is tremendous. I think it's the best tailgate atmosphere in the conference. I mean, people just love Cowboy football and they love everything about it. And they sure as heck love, 10-win seasons and, getting the bowl games and watching some of their guys get drafted. And this is way better than the 90s. It's way better than, the 10-1 season. And I get that. I think the younger group, I think if you're my age, 40 and below, I think we look around us and think, man, we just want a little bit more, and I think that's okay to feel that way too. But I think the fan base in itself is just a little bit complacent at times, allowing, come on, you're watching National Signing Day, y'all. You got to be a little irritated with the number that the Cowboys came in at, right? I mean, that's not where you want to be in recruiting. There's a ton of talent out there, and Oklahoma State's a great place. Top 25 facility still in the country. How do you not have a better recruiting class than that? I mean, you should be frustrated. But Cowboy fans aren't, and they talk about turning 2 stars into 3 stars and 3 stars into 4 stars. And, I get that. I get that. But yeah, I mean, I'm a little bit concerned that things have gotten a little bit relaxed, for sure. And like I said, I'm ready for some new blood for sure. Late to the party. Did you cover Nardo's defense? You know what, Nardo? I'll say this. I mean, there's some players on Oklahoma State's defense that have developed pretty well this year. You got to give them credit for that. That defensive staff some credit for that. I think he is. I think you go back to the Big 12 championship game, you understand where he's at in regards to being able to compete on this level. I'm not a huge believer in Gundy's coaching higher in practices when it comes to this. Like, I think that Oklahoma State is better than going down to Gannon University and getting a defensive coordinator, but that's my opinion. But I thought those kids played well today. I thought they covered well. The individual player to Oklahoma State is better today than they were 7-8 weeks ago. I think they've improved this year for sure. I'm not a believer in the scheme. I think unless you've got a 360-pound nose guard and a couple of 6'7", 275-pound defensive ends, 3-man front is not for teams like Oklahoma State. So, but obviously a pretty good performance. You can hold A&M to what they did. Like, once again, A&M's quarterback, he gave it his best shot, though. I'll give that kid a lot of credit. Who would you replace Gundy with if it was your decision? I want Josh Henson right now. I think he's ready for it. This is a former offensive line coach. He's won a Joe Moore Award. He's been tutored under Lincoln Riley offensively. But with his offensive line background, I think he can appreciate, what it is to run a balanced offense and allow your defense to recover. I think he is ready for the big job, and I think he would come back to Stillwater and call it home. This is a former Oklahoma State Cowboy. He's a guy that recruited me. I think he is a great coach, and I think he's a better man. And I would love to see him in Stillwater. Sam, with all the elite LR has had, and he's only won 2 games starting QBs, Spencer Rattler and Miller Moss. Oh, you're talking about Lincoln Riley. Yeah, no, that dude's in some trouble out there out west. He didn't get it done the way they thought he was going to, that's for sure. Let's see here. Bowman does seem to have a good rapport with his receivers. Absolutely. Those dudes love that guy. And I mean, I get it. That's your quarterback, and receivers are attached to them. There's no doubt about it. But I hold my breath every time the ball gets released. You just never know where it's going to go. Nardo versus Dunn, Bowman, Ollie. Who wins? I mean, I would definitely say Bowman and Ollie. What else you guys got? I'm really not sure about that. To be completely honest with you, Orange, I'm not necessarily sure about that. I think it's a pretty evenly matched battle. They got a lot of good dudes on that defense, right? I mean, those kids are big and they're physical. They hit you. I was disappointed in the Big 12 championship game. I thought they missed a lot of tackles in that game, but typically they group tackle and they get to the ball. I mean, I would be happier with the Oklahoma State. I just don't think they have the defensive front to run the defense that they're running. I really don't. Like, I think that's the biggest. They just don't have the personnel for it. Are you calling these kids the Nard dogs now? I don't accept that. No, we will not call the Oklahoma State defense the Nard dogs on this podcast, sir. Take it back. um, Man, what else can I get into? I really do appreciate all you guys' support this season. It's been a fun getting back in the media and doing some of these things with you guys. Great questions, great comments. Big thank you for following me on all the social medias. I'm looking forward to heading into the off season. If you guys have listened to my podcast at times over the last several years, I get a little creative. So we'll obviously stick with sports, but there's a lot going on out there in the world, and we'll have some fun and get some great guests in here and do all that kind of cool stuff too. So looking forward to that. Benedict Arnold in the flesh. Oh no. You talking about me? I appreciate that, Okie Lawn guy. Did OSU get a QB for the 2024 class? I don't know off the top of my head. I have to look up the list. Well, guys, I appreciate it. Yeah, that's right. They did get a kid from California. That's right. Do you think the O line has the raw talent to improve next year? I think I think that Dickey is an excellent coach. I think between the confidence that they gained this year, another year in the weight room, I think Oklahoma State strength and conditioning program is as good as it gets in college football. Um, Ollie Gordon, another year and another 5-10 pounds on that kid. I think that it 100% will. They'll be improved. I think you bring all five guys back. Like I'm sitting here thinking about, 02, we had our first little Houston Bowl game and we lost, but the interior. So it was me, Ben Bowie, and Chris Aiken. We were all sophomores. We lost both tackles, but we had a couple of kids that came in and really filled that role for us quickly. Doug Koning, who was an upperclassman, and then Corey Hilliard came in as a true freshman and really anchored that left side or the right side of the offensive line with me. And it took, over that next 2 years, I want to say my last year there or my junior year, we gave up 13 total sacks. Total. Like I cannot stress to you how awesome it is when you get guys that return, right? When your whole offensive line comes back. This is the closest group on the football team. Those guys live together, they eat together, they're in the same classes, they hang out, their girlfriends are best friends. Like it's like the most family unit in the on the team. And so that chemistry, it just does nothing but grow, right? We live together. I mean, we die together in the summer times, running the conditioning, and we always train together, work out together. It's just a tight knit group. So the more time they spend together, the better they'll be. And when you have a back like Ollie Gordon, I was fortunate enough to block for some all time greats at Oklahoma State, Tatum Bell and Vernon Morency, Seymour Shaw. Like those are great backs, and I was very confident every time they took the field that we were going to be able to do something amazing because they were amazing players. So I think this group next year will probably play above what they actually are. I think as five, they are one of the top 20 offensive lines in the country. Individually, none of those kids are NFL players, right? But together, they are legit, and they'll find a way to get it done next year. Random question: have you and the missus tied the knot yet? Not yet. We had too many kids. We got kids going to college. We got a lot going on, so we haven't done it yet. But thank you for asking. Thoughts on OU hiring Sepultrella as their OC? Seems like they could have done better. I, as an outsider, would have agreed. I agree with you. I think that Oklahoma, in the position that they're in, could have hired really anybody they wanted to. Um, but you know how the Sooners and Venables and that program is. I mean, they want program guys. They appreciate former players. That's cool too. I think that's going to be cool to see those guys get an opportunity. I probably would have waited, honestly, until this bowl. I would have said, these two guys get a chance. Let's see what you do in this next month, running these practices, go coach that bowl game, call the plays in that bowl game, and we'll see. This is your test run. And then I would have gone from there. But I also felt like it was a little underwhelming. Not football related, but I was tired of all the Texas A&M pandering during the broadcast. You're going to get that with SEC. You're going to get it with A&M, the amount of money that they spend, the brand. I mean, yeah, I was a little frustrated with it also, but it kind of is what it is. It comes with playing SEC teams for sure. Ryan Aaron, Sam, can you guys podcast these live shows for Apple and Spotify for people that can't use YouTube at work? Brittany and I were just talking about this, and I don't know that it's necessarily possible to do that, but I will inquire for sure. Thanks again for everything, Sam. Have a happy new year, and may you and your family have a great coming year. Thank you so much, Mr. Jolly. I appreciate that. You guys also, please have a happy new year. Be safe. Hope you guys had great Christmases. And how cool is it that college football has become a 365 a year conversation, right? I mean, we're going to get a big, heavy dose of it here in the state of Oklahoma with the Sooners going down to the SEC, the Cowboys looking to take control of the Big 12 next year, Ollie Gordon coming back. True freshman or redshirt freshman quarterback, not redshirt. He didn't redshirt. He's going to be a true sophomore next year. Down there in Norman, looking to do great things. I mean, it's going to be a lot of fun. This is going to be a cool off season and a better season next year, and obviously sellout crowd looking to get bigger and better. The coverage that some of my colleagues have had this year has been great. If you're not keeping up with Garen Emig and Jenny Carlson and those guys, like you should. Eli Letterman, who I just had on the podcast last week. I love Eli. He does great work. Todd Lisenby, the Hutchinson twins covering Oklahoma State. If you're not keeping up with those guys, you need to check it out. Go to selloutcrowd.com and check out all their great content. Big thank you for following me. Once again, big thank you to all of my sponsors. Big shout out to Euros Health and to Lock Supply for what they've done for me here this year. But I'm excited, man. I'm happy to be back in the game. Looking forward to the spring. Looking forward to continuing this conversation. And yeah, man, thank you guys so much. I appreciate it. Like, subscribe, all the things in the podcast. Keep following me on social media. And for those that will join me tomorrow after the OU game, I look forward to it. And for those that will not, I'll see you next week on the podcast. Thank you, guys.